Hey guys, Ryan and Greg here, back with another breakdown of American Horror Story Hotel. Greg, can you believe it? We're at the finale.
Yes, I can. We are now at episode 12. Spoiler alert, everyone. If you haven't seen this episode yet, get out of here, go watch it, and then come on back here. A lot's going on in this finale. Now let's jump into it. This is episode 12. Be our guest.
You'll be our guest, we our guest, be our guest.
Now, before we get started, guys, be sure to check out our GameSpot store for some cool play-for-all merchandise, including face masks, t-shirts, hoodies, and even an awesome skateboard. It's all for a good cause, too. Until the end of August, all proceeds are going directly to charity to help us raise money for Black Lives Matter and COVID-19 direct relief. Be sure to check out our play-for-all merchandise at the GameSpot store. That is store.gamespot.com. I think Finn's favorite is this play-for-all hoodie. All right, Greg, yes, we are on episode 12. Now, it's not the longest season of American Horror Story. Actually, 13 is the longest. Asylum, Coven, and Freak Show did 13 episodes each. But this is 12 episodes. Do you think that it needed 12 episodes?
I think you brought up off camera that you thought like the last episode was a good way to end it. Or just, you know, a battle royale. But this one, I felt like they did this also like just to like an honor the actors and everyone involved, because they gave them just a little bit more, you know, screen time. Cheyenne Jackson has a couple good lines in here. Angela Bassett, she has a couple good one-liners. I think they just gave them more time, and Sarah Paulson as well. She has some good dialogue in this episode as well. It's kind of like, I guess, like Emmys. Maybe they're just thinking like, you know, let's give them a little bit more to work with in the final episode and have some, I guess, closure, because they knew that a lot of questions were going to be asked about this season if they ended it on 11.
That's a good point, Greg. And speaking of closure, another character that we get some closure for is Dennis O'Hare's Liz Taylor. So this episode, really a beautiful kind of bow tie to the end of kind of what was going on with her storyline.
Now, Liz and Iris have taken over as new management somehow. I don't know how the paperwork was sorted out in the court or anything else, because, you know, Will Drake's missing or dead or whatever, or maybe they saw his ghost there. Who knows? But at the end of the day, Liz and Iris, they decide, you know what? We got to clean this place up. Let's try to, you know, start fresh, a new leaf, Animal Crossing. And they decided, you know what? Let's bring in new guests. Let's make this place a 4-star hotel or 5-star, because they know now everything's done. You got to have a rating system here. So they bring in some trip adventurers, like TripAdvisor, I guess. So again, nice room. They bring them in. I love it. Everything's white. I'm like, oh god, there's gonna be blood everywhere. I just imagine immediately.
The remodel does look nice, but unfortunately the place is still haunted.
Yes, absolutely. As immediately Sally shows up to let them know that, hey, guess what? This place is haunted and you're not going anywhere. So she stabs the guy with a syringe, and then, of course, Will Drake shows up. And now this is a running theme. I feel like this is deja vu, because we watched 1984, which had this exact same pretty much scene, and I think the final few episodes of that season as well at Camp Redwood, where again it's the ghosts. They need something to do. They're bored. They're there for eternity. So of course it's just time to kill some guests, and this pisses off Liz and Iris to no end, because they're trying to, you know, clean this place up. So they ask for a meeting.
Yeah, we got a serious problem. The ghosts keep killing the guests. We're gonna end up with 0 stars.
It's time we had a goddamn meeting.
Yeah, this is a fun start to the episode, Greg, because it shows them kind of a passing of the torch of like a new management, obviously, and kind of getting it ready for a new era of the hotel, right? And like, hey, we can't keep killing all the guests or else we won't have guests anymore. I mean, you and I joked this whole season about how poor the reviews have to be, or maybe no one's leaving any reviews because there's no people to leave reviews of this hotel, and we're like wondering, how are they even in business? But this final episode actually answers those questions of how are they in business and how are they dealing with this. And basically they need to like do a total facelift to the place. They need to like kind of bring back the, they ultimately want to keep it going for 100 years so that it becomes a historical landmark and they can't like knock it down, because they know, none of them know like what happens if the building is, you know, just bulldozed. What happens to them? Are the spirits freed? It would be an interesting season later on to see like what happens in the far future to this land if it does get kind of renovated or bought by someone else and kind of flattened. Like what types of spirit? What happens to the spirits? Do they go somewhere else? Or are they still like in the new facility that opens up there? But anyways, basically, Iris, like you said, Iris and Liz have to kind of start from scratch and start a whole new game plan for the Hotel Cortez moving forward.
But the thing is, March, you brought it up earlier. He's the one who brought up, James March is the one who brought up that they need to get to the 100-year mark, which is, I think, in the 2020s or 2030s. So at that point, they got to stop killing until that happens, at least. Of course, he's come from a place of privilege that he has his 10 commandment killings out of the way. So he's like, whatever, guys, let's stop killing. While everyone else is like, what the hell, man? We're just getting started. But with that said, Sally seems to be the only holdout here compared to everyone else who are pretty much on game at this point to stop the killings for at least the time being, because they know they don't want to know what's on the other side here if they have to bulldoze this place.
Totally. Not only Sally, because just that's Sally's personality to kind of be like a little Debbie Downer over there, but also Will Drake. Remember, Will Drake is one of the more recent kind of new ghosts into the building, and he's kind of just pissed off at everything, like he didn't want any of this to happen to him. He was happy with his life. He thought he was falling in love. He thought he had many years ahead of him, but he's like just totally gung-ho about murdering innocent guests when they come in. It like you said, is very much thematically what we see in AHS 1984.
Yep. And with that said, though, I think he turns a switch off, or he turns a switch on the second that Liz lets him know that his businesses have pretty much fallen. That changes his perspective on things, and where we get some great dialogue later between him and Liz, where the two of them talk about the future.
I haven't had an original thought in a decade.
This is California, the land of reinvention. I mean, look what this place did for me.
Liz is able to turn him around a little bit with the ideas of, maybe you can start a new career here at the hotel. Liz tells him to think about your fashion business one more time. It's not dead. Like the couture line is gone at the moment, but he can still figure something out at the hotel. She gives him time to work on this, and at the same time, Iris is trying to help out Sally.
Now, speaking of Liz, let's go back to the opening, Greg. During the voiceover, we see a shot of Liz laying on a bed or laying down and then getting her throat slashed by what we would assume is the Countess and her glove, that sharp glove. But we don't know the context surrounding it. I mean, you do know that Liz at some point dies. We think it could maybe be a dream. It could maybe be a vision. We don't really know exactly what it might be. But we know that there is going to be some sort of tying up of the story of Liz.
It was supposed to be the perfect ending.
And like we alluded to earlier, Sally, thanks to Iris, picks up a little bit of a new hobby. She's going to start blogging, and she's introduced to social media. Hey, if you're stuck inside the Hotel Cortez and you have Wi-Fi, why not just pick up your phone or computer and start just flooding the timeline with your thoughts? That's basically what she does, Greg.
And she becomes a little bit of a vlogger too, I guess, or something like that. She's on YouTube as well, and she sees the admiration, and she of course enjoys it. She finds a new hobby. It works. And this is where we get the meme of her, the instantly famous meme that we've seen all over the internet. One of my favorite memes, actually. It's just her in the bed looking at her phone, smiling. That's one of my favorites. Now, it's Sally, that girl. It does not exist anymore. You looked it up. It's not around anymore, at least.
Yeah, I did look up Sally, that girl on various social medias, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. I'm guessing that FX probably during the airing of this show probably had made an account just for people to check in. I know there's a bunch of copycat accounts that are on Instagram and Twitter and stuff like that. So a fun little Easter egg you can look up, and you can see some photos of Sally McKenna or what she would be doing in American Horror Story. Sally, that girl actually is a reference to a rap group, 1988, Gucci Crew 2. That's a song that they did. Apparently, that's where they got the name for her kind of online moniker.
Sally, that girl.
But basically, the bottom line here, Greg, is that Sally kind of, she's been so lonely and all these abandonment issues, people coming and going outside of the hotel, people not accepting her for kind of, her interests on the fringe. She's struggled with addiction, obviously, and drug abuse. She finds a community that she can really she feels safe with and comfortable with, and she can exchange ideas with, and just kind of, a shout out to the online communities where, people in their normal life might feel, a little distant from other people, but there is a home, and there are commonalities and similarities that people can share across the world.
So back to Liz and Will for a second. Now, like I said earlier, there's some good dialogue between the two of them, and Cheyenne Jackson gets to chew up a little bit more scenery. I like it. With that said, they talk about his son and the idea of, your heir, and what are you going to do with you still have a little bit of money left over, so let's try to figure out a new career for you, a new path. And this is where they decide to go the route of, let's make Liz a part of the board. Where Liz immediately starts firing people and tells him this is how it's going to go down with his company from now on.
That scene is awesome. That scene is awesome, Greg.
It's official. Ms. Taylor here has total authority to speak on his behalf.
You're fired. Now, gentlemen, I know something about rebirth.
And from there, Liz kind of locks Will Drake in a room where he comes up with ideas for his new fashion show that he's going to put on, with new ideas, a new experience, apparently, with this Art Deco style to accompany the hotel itself. And Will Drake is now, he's this, it's like artist seclusion, where he's like hidden away a little bit. He's alive. But he's only coming out for certain occasions, and he's hidden in the background. A little bit of a Banksy vibe. He's going that route, and it seems to be working as they put on their first fashion show, and it goes off with a bang. You even see Ramona Royale showing up in a dress, and he's using the other guests. I love too. The ghosts are all on stage, so I was like, oh, that's why all the attractive people were killed off earlier. They're going to use them for this scene later. Nice. Now, back to Liz. She is still hung up a little bit on Tristan, and there needs to be some closure. So they have some help. They bring someone in to see if they can talk to Tristan.
Greg, this was another awesome connection to the wider AHS universe. Of course, they bring in Billie Dean Howard, played by the great Sarah Paulson, who's known to to play double duty on numerous characters throughout a season. So Billie Dean Howard, of course, is from Murder House. Constance Langdon used her numerous times in order to talk to Adelaide, and she kind of bridges the gap between the different spirits in different locations of the American Horror Story universe. So we know that she has a show, and basically she comes to the Hotel Cortez with an idea. Hey, maybe I should do a show here. It feels a little bit different in this room. She should know immediately not to get super involved there if she knows kind of what's going on in the murder house as well. It's a very similar location.
Come on, the moment she walks in there, she should have known, like, oh no, this is horrible.
Totally.
10 times worse than the murder house. Now, with that said, it's weird that she didn't hear Marcy. Or maybe Marcy and her never met, actually. But it's funny now that Marcy, her storyline's been wrapped up too. Is she is now, she started at Murder House, and now she's wrapped up in the Hotel Cortez, well, for eternity. I dug that.
So Billie Dean Howard is trying her best to contact Tristan, but unfortunately is not getting anywhere with this. And Liz takes this as a negative, that basically Tristan might blame her for his death and doesn't want to speak to her. But we do get a revelation that she can actually speak to Donovan when Iris is in the same room. How convenient. Gets to tell Iris that, hey, your son is at peace. I like the vision of heaven here, or whatever, the afterlife. Every day is Saturday. He can smell the pancakes. A really beautiful, touching moment for Iris just to hear. When she wasn't expecting ever maybe to hear back from Donovan again.
What does he say?
He says no.
What do you mean? No. What no? He doesn't want to talk.
So Liz removes the focus off of Tristan for the moment, and she wants to, take care of her family that's still around. So she goes to see her son one more time, and now her grandchild as well, in a cute little scene where they're all together for a moment. But then it abruptly ends where Liz, finds out the hard truth that she has prostate cancer, which comes now full circle to the opening sequence that we saw. So you can start to put things together now where this is going. As Liz decides, you know what, I do want to stick around, though, in the hotel. And so she gets all the ghosts together. And now we have this beautiful moment where they have everyone's like saying their goodbyes, I guess, a little bit. But then, of course, the door slams open, and you gotta have the Countess, Lady Gaga, one more time in this episode. There's no way they could have ended this season without seeing her at least one more time.
How did you know to come?
You were always my fondest creation.
It's fitting, right? Because the Countess is the one that kind of she says, like, I created, you're my best creation. She instilled so much confidence in Liz to be the person that she is, and to not let anyone else change that about her, and basically wants to be there and kind of do the honors and help her transition into this afterlife inside the Hotel Cortez. So it's a very beautiful, and like we said earlier, it ties up Liz's story really well. She's at peace with the decision. She doesn't want to, get sick and old and have to deal with all that. She'd rather just, stay with kind of the family that she has in the hotel. I'm sure that her son and the family can always come back to the hotel and stay there and visit, and they would probably get the VIP treatment, and none of the ghosts would harm them at all. So it's a very beautiful and touching scene, and now we get context into what we saw earlier in the episode with the throat slash. Now, when Liz does pass away and become a spirit in the Hotel Cortez, she is once again reunited with Tristan. Tristan did not, try to ignore her, didn't want to speak to her, basically wanted Liz, in a beautiful scene, just tells her that he wanted her to live on and not worry about or be bogged down by his memory and all that kind of stuff, and knew that Liz had things to do, right? Still had things to tie up with her son and the son's family and all that love, and just kind of being a part of a family again with him. So a very selfless act by Tristan, right? Not to kind of force or kind of tease Liz to like kind of come to the afterlife any earlier, or kill herself and be a part of, back together with each other. Basically knew that, like, hey, our time will come. I just have to be patient and wait, and at some point we will be reunited again. So it's a very beautiful scene between these two. The love here is real, Greg.
So we fast forward to the year 2022, Devil's Night. The hotel is doing very well. People are flocking there from, I guess, the great reviews, but also, unfortunately, they're flocking there because of Billie Dean Howard and the 3 specials she did there prior, which have caused a lot of fans or a lot of people just to show up to see the ghosts. They want to see if there's ghosts around the hotel, which is a little bit of a problem.
Yeah, the ghosts aren't happy with it, but it kind of reminds me, Greg, of like a lot of these pop-up museums you see, and people just want to, take some photos for the gram. It's kind of like that type of thing. Like it probably, it went viral that like Billie Dean Howard's talking to all these ghosts, and now everyone wants to go there and see if they can experience it firsthand. Now, as we find out, the ghosts are not happy with this. They do not want Billie Dean Howard to ever report anything in the Hotel Cortez. They want to be left alone. Previously we saw that they had to like stop killing people, and now they're just like, leave us alone. Like, let us just like be here in peace. We don't want to be bothered with.
And this brings us to an interview with John Lowe, who makes his return in the finale, and we figure out what happened to him prior to, because now he's a ghost, and we think, oh, okay, cool, he's a ghost of the hotel. But not exactly. It's Devil's Night, and that has more to do with why he's there than any other reason. As we find out, he was still helping out his family with the whole vampire thing. Let's not forget that half of his family is a vampire now. So, with that said, he's got to give them blood, and so he's been doing that for quite some time. While still, the police are on the hunt for him as the Ten Commandments killer as well. Yeah. So at some point, it was going to lead to a point where he couldn't get out of this. And sure enough, he squares off with the police, ironically, in front of the Hotel Cortez. Unfortunately, he doesn't make it inside in time.
Yeah, he's shot and killed right outside the steps of the Hotel Cortez. Now, last episode, you and I kind of discussed, like, what are the rules exactly for the Hotel Cortez? If you die in the alley, like Sally McKenna did, does that mean you're back inside the hotel? Did she safely make it inside?
Technically, she was...
Like,
but
where are the property
on
lines?
The land.
Yeah, where are the property lines of this?
Yeah.
Anyways, he I guess the point is here, I guess, that he can only return to the Hotel Cortez on Devil's Night like all the other serial killers, all of James March's crew, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's it. That's the only way this works, and that's a good way to wrap up the whole Devil's Night crew situation too, with the rest of the killers. Now this leads with John taking Billie Dean up to the soiree, for Devil's Night to see the rest of the crew. She meets everyone. She sees, Richard Ramirez, Aileen Wuornos. They're all there. So yes, we get, hey, shout out Lily Rabe. She shows up for one last scene too. That's awesome. Now, with that said, it doesn't take long for them to corner her and tell her that she needs to stay the hell out of this hotel forever.
It's at this moment, Greg, that Billie Dean Howard realizes that she's in way over her head.
Yes.
That I think we're led to believe that before this, she has spoke with other spirits in houses. She even mentions mentions the murder house itself specifically during this sequence. But I don't think she's ever experienced anything quite like what she is currently in this room with all of these past serial killers that are infamous, infamous serial killers now that are around her and basically circling her, and that the power of the Hotel Cortez itself and the eerie vibe that she's getting from it, she knows that she's not safe from these spirits, so that she kind of is taking it more seriously than she ever has in her life, it seems.
And with that said, too, she even brings up, like, what are you going to do? You can't leave this hotel. You're a ghost. And then Ramona Royale lets her know that, well, I'm not. I'm a vampire, and I will hunt you down if you say anything about this place. So sure enough, she just takes to running. I love it. You just see Sarah Paulson with her shoes off going out that door for the final time. It's awesome.
Now, one note here, Greg. Apparently, Sarah Paulson said the original idea for this conversation with all the serial killers was to also have Sally McKenna in the room, adding her 2 cents to scare off Billie Dean Howard. But basically, they scrapped the idea after the crew.
It was too tough.
It was too tough to kind of pull it off with. I mean, I guess you can get a double, right, or just kind of shoot the reverse shots with Sarah Paulson. But basically, the idea was to initially have Sally McKenna in there with Ramona Royale and all the serial killers, scaring the hell out of Billie Dean Howard. It would have been hysterical to see Sarah Paulson scaring the hell out of herself.
They got to do that. One of these seasons, they got to have the two of them, two characters meet, or the same person. Please, just once. Just give us that one time. It could be goofy, but I still want to see it. Now, back to John for a second. Now, we already know that Alex and Holden have to stay at the hotel because, of course, they're vampires. Now, John can only see them on Devil's Night. So every year, a new year passes. So now we're at 2022. And at this point, Scarlett, she's grown up. She's no longer that child they saw earlier, and she's still hanging out with them too. She still has a great bond, apparently, with the entire family. As we see John show up in the room, he kisses Holden and Alex. He knows that this is the only chance he gets to see him. This is a lot like an episode of Doctor Who, by the way. There's a Christmas special, one of the Christmas specials, where the character would only wake up, I think, on Christmas. Now, John says this great line about he doesn't want to close his eyes because it's going to be a new year. year. And everyone's going to get older, and who knows what's going to happen in the future. So it's very sweet to see his daughter still there. And the fact is, yeah, I don't know if I would go to sleep just yet. I would try to get as much info I could out of everybody, telling Alex and Holden, wake up, let's hang out, let's play some chess for a second or something. But it's a sweet moment.
Yeah, and apparently, Scarlett being there, and it's kind of like their family reunion of sorts. Once a year, Devil's Night, they all get together. She's able to see her family. Scarlett is able to see her family, the world's worst parents that kind of abandoned her. But she's able to come back and kind of deal with. I mean, what a weird thing to have to deal with, right? Sorry, I can't hang out this week, guys. I'm gonna go hang out with my family on Devil's Night in Hotel Cortez. You mean that haunted hotel? No.
It's all good.
Don't worry about it. Some families go to Lake Tahoe, Greg. Some families go to Florida. Some families go to Texas. This family, their family reunion is in Hotel Cortez. No big deal.
And this season ends on the Countess, of course. It has to. Where we see a guy, the type, he's waiting at the bar. He's got a drink. It's Devil's Night, and the Countess approaches. She knows what she wants. And at the end of the day, she looks at that jawline, and it's donezo for this guy. Unfortunately, he doesn't know that just yet.
You have a jawline for days.
Just a perfect ending to this season of Hotel. It's the endless cycle. The Countess is going to keep on. She's stuck in the hotel, going to keep on going through all these people that she sees kind of come in and out of the hotel itself. She described her life earlier in the season as just kind of getting over heartbreak after heartbreak after heartbreak. She kind of measures the years in heartbreaks. And you can see that it's just going to continue and continue and continue. She has an insatiable appetite, obviously, as do many of the ghosts in the hotel. It really leaves a fun kind of finality to this season of American Horror Story Hotel. Now, one thing, Greg, is that since this season has aired, we've also been back to the Hotel Cortez, obviously for AHS Apocalypse, and we got to see James March and Queenie, of course, and kind of Cordelia struggling to get Queenie out of the Hotel Cortez. Ultimately takes the Antichrist Michael Langdon in order to do that. I would have loved to get a peek of like kind of what everyone else is doing in the hotel. How it's going for all these other spirits.
You're probably going to get your wish, because it seems like, again, we're going to have American Horror Stories sometime next year, and I would be stunned. Yeah. I would be stunned if they don't approach either the Murder House on Devil's Night or Hotel Cortez on Devil's Night. One of those two are going to be used for a Devil's Night episode sometime in the future. I would be stunned if they don't do it. Also, they're going to have to wrap it all together, too, because, again, these are all hellscapes, just like we saw in 1984 as well, where, again, another hellscape is made. How is this possible? Are they going to try to put them all together with something with Satan in the future for another season down the line? Maybe. I would like to see that happen, too, where they can explain how these ghosts are haunting this land. It would be cool to see that in the future, even for Roanoke. With that said, I that was pretty cool.
I can't be the only one here hoping you say no.
So let's overall a couple thoughts here to end everything, to wrap up this season of Hotel. What do you think? Coming back to it years later after it aired, what do you think really worked well for you on this viewing?
The soundtrack, the music's great. It's
Hell yeah.
Some of the characters, their character development is very inspiring. Liz, amazing. Dennis O'Hare did a wonderful job. I thought even Lady Gaga's first role, it went well. It went very well, as you can see from the future from this role. Sarah Paulson, she's always amazing. Every time, she's a treat when you get her on camera. And with that said, too, we even got some breakout roles a little bit with Cheyenne Jackson. But not every actor. I'm not going to point names or anything like that. I don't want to poo-poo on anything. But not every actor was great this season. But with that said, I think when it came to our ranking, would you change it for our power ranking? I don't know. I think it got the place it deserved, but that's I don't know yet. We'll see. I think there are some other seasons that raised the bar a little bit higher. I think on my end, just personally here, I think the fashion was great. The story, I think it kind of trailed off a little bit in the middle. Some things they held on a little too long. Some things, like the kids' story arc, was way too long. But with that said, I think it was still a solid season. They really haven't had like a bad look. We're gonna get to Roanoke soon too, and I'm telling you, this show has not had like an awful season. They haven't had it yet. To this day, they've had some seasons where they made some questionable decisions, but nothing has taken the course where you're like, okay, this show is trash now. Nothing has come to that yet, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you, Greg. I will say I don't think it changes my perspective on kind of where it is in my overall power rankings. But initially, when this was first airing, I kind of fell off the show around the midway point of American Horror Story Hotel.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, I have to admit it though. I had watched the previous seasons and I was all into it, every single episode. But this is where kind of it lost me. Now, having rewatched it, I kind of it was better on a second viewing, I think. I gave it more time. I agree, the fashion, the music, Gaga's great in it. But number one is that I keep on coming back to this season, and the highlight that I'll remember the most, the thing I'll remember most is basically Dennis O'Hare, and the character of Liz Taylor. Incredible performance, great story, beautiful story, and that kind of sticks out the most to me. Now, when we talk about things that don't work, I agree with you. The vampire kid storyline, completely ridiculous. And I honestly, the 10 Commandments killer, the whole idea of just following, this one killer to do all these kills, to follow the story of James March, it didn't really work with me. And I think part of it was because of John Lowe just wasn't really an intriguing character himself. There was no draw to him at all. I didn't really care about what he was doing, and it was just in the way that unfortunately Wes Bentley was playing it. It just kind of just like very bland for me.
Yeah, I feel really bad for Wes Bentley here because of the character that was given to him, and also this house has a lot to do with the fact that Jessica Lange is poorly missed here, because you can see here how the show works, where you're not meant to have really a main character. But looking at this season as a whole, they really needed someone to root for, and they could have given that, I think, a little bit more like screen time or something. They could have changed that a little bit with Liz, maybe giving Liz, the Dennis O'Hare, that character of the main kind of Jessica Lange character lead that they've usually given to characters in the past. Now, this season, it felt void of a character that you can really cling on to and latch onto and root for. Yeah, and that's what really, I think, like soured this season. Like, you had Lady Gaga, but it just had Lady Gaga. So you had a vampire there, but the character itself, you really couldn't latch on to it. You couldn't really, like relate to it or anything. They needed that one person to drive this story around, and Jessica Lange not being there and not giving that role to anyone else, it really hurt it. And Sarah Paulson was amazing as her character. She did a great job, and I just feel like maybe they didn't want to do that. They didn't want to give like a main character route anywhere this season. They just wanted to have, a picture by committee, just everyone come in whenever you can, and we're going to shoot this scene. You're going to be great in it, and they were, but it was missing something like that. And Jessica Lange, without her there, it kind of hurt.
Yeah, totally agree with you on all fronts, Greg. But like you said, there is no really bad season of American Horror Story. You and I enjoy watching all these seasons, as ridiculous as they might get, as campy as they might get, as horrific as they might get. You and I love this stuff. And the Hotel Cortez, as a setting, the Hotel Cortez is a great setting for a horror story. So like you said, I hope, fingers crossed, guys, that we come back to the Hotel Cortez at some point in American Horror Story or American Horror Stories. That's it for us, guys. Of course, hit us up in the comments and let us know what you thought of this finale, as well as the entire season. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What was your favorite part? What was your least favorite part? Hit us up. And of course, Greg, you and I will be back in the future for more American Horror Story. We can never stop talking about American Horror Story, right?
Yes, we'll see you guys again soon in October. We'll be back, take a little break, and we'll be right back here with another season. We're still not sure what season though we want to do. We're still up in the air. So let us know in the comment section down below which season you prefer for the next one to be. I think everyone knows damn well what season I want next. But that we'll see, because it's October, so maybe we should go a different route. I think with the next season that we should officially break down. But who knows?